The chapel stood crooked on its stone foundation, warped with bones baked dry by 40 years of desert sun. Dust filtered through broken windows like a ghost choir, filling pews with pale memories. Outside, the sky pressed low, leaden with the breathless hush before storm or scandal. Inside, the air held its breath. Evelyn sat still in the front pew, then slowly stood. The veil hung over her face, sheer white and trembling slightly from the breeze that had no source. Her dress was simple muslin, hem singed by dirt, the color of a funeral lily under the weight of disappointment. She held a bouquet of dry brush and wild chamomile, hand-tied with fraying ribbon. Her hands didn't shake. She stood without help. She was blind, but she knew what they thought. Every bench in the chapel was packed. Families dressed in threadbare Sunday best, smelling of sweat and dust and judgment. Women clutched their children tighter when she passed. Men crossed their arms and leaned back with sharp-toothed smirks. Nobody spoke to her. Nobody had to. He was supposed to be there by noon. The bells never rang. The clock, cracked and leaning, marked the hour with a final sigh. Whispers rose like steam. He's run off. Did you think he'd marry her? A blind girl. She ain't even pretty. Ain't got land. Ain't got nothing. Just a crippled servant. Trash. Evelyn turned slowly toward the voices. Her eyes were pale glass, unfocused. Still, the crowd flinched. She took one step forward, then another. Outside, someone laughed. Her heel caught a splinter in the floorboards. She staggered but did not fall. Her spine stayed straight. Dignity was her only defense. She would not lose it. Not today. Then came the sound. The door groaned. Heads turned. A man stood in the doorway, backlit by white sun. Wide-brimmed hat. Long coat dusted with trail. His boots were dark with travel, but his bearing was clean as a bullet. His eyes scanned the room once. Cold. Calculating. No pity in them. Only precision. He said nothing. Just watched. Evelyn did not turn toward him. But she felt the air shift. He watched for a long time. Then he left. She walked alone from the chapel to the road, arms empty now. The bouquet had been crushed beneath a child's boot. She hadn't noticed when. Or maybe she had. But what use was noticing? The town was built in rings. Church, saloon, store, jail, dust. The road home wound through all of it. Evelyn walked slowly, counting steps. The sun pressed down, like a punishment. Behind her, laughter chased her shadow. She had known she was a burden. Knew the only reason the Hargreaves had taken her in was for appearances. A crippled girl saved by charity looks mighty fine on paper. But their son, Travis, he liked to play games with his food. And she had never been more than something to chew and spit. The wedding had been a punishment. They said she should be grateful. That a woman like her, blind and poor, was lucky to have any man, even one who snuck whiskey in his coat and clawed her wrists when nobody was looking. They said a wedding was the right thing. They lied. She reached the edge of the Hargreaves' land by nightfall. A shadow fell across her path. "You're back late." It was Mrs. Hargreaves. Her voice was sharp and dry. "He didn't show," Evelyn said simply. "Well, that's what happens to ungrateful girls." Evelyn didn't answer. Just walked past. Inside the servants' shed, the mattress was straw and mold. Her hands found the blanket by memory. The tears didn't come. She had nothing left to cry with. She didn't know that far beyond the corral fence, a man stood in the dark, watching. Again, he was not there by accident. He had come to collect a debt the world owed someone like her. And he always paid in full. The town of Grafton Creek coughed to life with the sound of hooves and hollers, but Evelyn moved through it like a ghost. She no longer carried shame, she carried silence. It clung to her the way shadows cling to gravestones, and it unsettled folks more than screams ever could. The bruises on her wrists had faded, but the hush that followed her had only grown. It was the hush of reckoning, and the hush belonged to Cole Thatcher. He returned to Grafton Creek on the day of the cattle auction. No one knew he'd left. No one knew where he'd gone. He rode in with the same black gelding, coat glistening like a thundercloud. His hat was low, his coat darker than sin. But there was something new in his gait. Purpose, maybe, or permission. The auction yard was thick with dust and men too eager to spit. Cole dismounted near the fence, tying the reins loose. He stood there, chewing a stick of cedar root, like it might sweeten the bile in his mouth. His eyes searched the crowd. Found her. Evelyn was gathering dropped hats and canteens near the corral, bent low and moving careful, like her hands had minds of their own. A boy snorted. Threw a pebble. It struck her shoulder. She flinched. Stood up straight. The boy's father, a butcher named Wilkes, stepped forward with a grin wide as a horseshoe. "Blind mice shouldn't crawl where cattle feed," he said loud enough for the whole town to hear. She said nothing. Turned her head slightly, as if scenting the air for cruelty. Wilkes took another step. "Maybe you want a brand of your own, girl. Something permanent." The crowd laughed. Then Cole spoke. "Brand her and I'll brand you." The words were calm. Flat. But they stopped the world. Wilkes turned. Stared. "Who in hell are you?" Cole took one step forward. "I'm the man she belongs to now." Silence fell. Wilkes' grin crumbled. "You bought her." "No. She's not for sale." He turned to Evelyn. "She's mine by vow. She just hasn't said yes yet." Gasps. Whispers. Evelyn said nothing. Cole walked to her. His boots stirred the dust like omens. When he stood before her, he didn't touch her. Just spoke soft. "You ready to leave this place?" She tilted her head. Then, with the ghost of a nod, she said, "Yes." He turned. Held out a hand. She reached. Found it. Together, they mounted the gelding. Together they rode. No one followed. No one dared. The ranch lay north, where the earth cracked open in thirsty lines and the wind moved like whispers of old sin. Cole's land was too large to be owned by one man, but he owned it just the same. The main house stood like a verdict, tall, quiet, made of old wood and older regrets. He didn't speak during the ride. Evelyn didn't ask. When they arrived, he helped her down. Gave her time. Gave her space. "This is your home now," he said. She felt the dirt beneath her boots. Tilted her face to the wind. "Do I owe you?" she asked. "No," he said. "You're owed. I just collect." He didn't touch her. Not that night. Not for many nights. Instead, he showed her the land. Let her trace fences with her hands. Let her walk the barn's bones and learn its sounds. She moved like someone trying to remember a language she'd once known. In the mornings, he brought coffee in silence. In the evenings, they sat on the porch. Sometimes he'd carve wood into meaningless shapes. Sometimes she'd speak a single sentence into the dusk. But mostly they just breathed. The town didn't speak her name anymore. They whispered about Cole. They said the Black Rider had come back from the dead, and he'd taken a bride carved from winter. They said she was a witch, or a saint, or something worse. Evelyn ignored it. She had work. She learned to mend saddle leather, to spot snake holes in the hay. She learned to clean a rifle by touch. Cole never offered to teach. He left the weapons where she could find them. He knew better than to offer what she hadn't asked for. But he was watching. Always watching. One morning, a coyote got into the chicken coop. Killed 6 hens. Evelyn found the tracks, followed them through the brush, and returned before sunset with its pelt. Cole didn't praise her. Just nodded once. That was enough. The first time he touched her, it wasn't for love. She'd burned her arm boiling lie. The pain was sharp, white-hot, curling around her bones. She didn't scream. Just sank to the floor. He found her there. Didn't speak. Just wrapped the burn in clean cloth, soaked it with cool milk. She felt the tremor in his hands. "Do you miss her?" she asked. He looked out the window. "Every day." Evelyn nodded. "Good." He didn't ask why. The rain came late that year. When it did, it hit like a fist. The fields turned to mud. Fence posts sank. The creek rose until it swallowed the road. Cole lost 3 calves to the flood. Evelyn helped dig the graves. Her hands blistered. Her back ached. She never asked for rest. When the work was done, they sat on the porch soaked to the skin, and she leaned her head against his shoulder. He let her. One night, she woke to find him gone. The door open. The wind howling. She found him at the edge of the orchard, beside a stone worn smooth by time. His back was straight. His fists were clenched. She was with child, he said. Evelyn said nothing. Just stood beside him until dawn. By fall, she had taken root. Not like a weed. Like something stubborn. Something ancient. She planted winter beans. She hunted game. She shot a fox trying to take a lamb. She carved a talisman from ashwood and hung it over the barn door. Cole never asked what it meant. She never told him. The town didn't come for her again. Not yet. But it would. And when it did, it would find her waiting. The first sign came in the form of smoke, thin, black, curling over the ridge, like a finger pointing back toward sin. Evelyn spotted it before noon. Cole didn't speak, just saddled the horse. She didn't ask to come. She was already pulling on her boots. They rowed out fast, wind snapping at their coats, the land breaking beneath them in old scars and bone. When they reached the source, they found what remained of one of Cole's lined shacks, a place where Hans sometimes slept during calving season. Now it was ash. The grass around it still hissed with heat. No cattle nearby. No prints. Just the mark. A symbol carved into the dirt with a blade. An eye with a tear. Cole spat. That's a message. Who's it from? Evelyn asked. He didn't answer. That night, the wind brought more than dust. Evelyn couldn't sleep. She stood on the porch, rifle in hand, boots planted. Cole stood beside her, arms folded. I'll need to call on some men, he said. You trust them? No, but they fear you. He nodded. That was enough. By dawn, 3 riders came. Old friends of Cole. Older enemies of the world. One named Hurst had a scar that split his lip, so it never closed right. The second, Dolly, kept his left hand wrapped in oilcloth. No one asked why. The third didn't speak at all. They sat in the kitchen and drank coffee like it was gunpowder. Evelyn poured it. She didn't flinch when Dolly said, "She yours?" Cole didn't answer. Evelyn did. "No, he's mine." That shut them up. By the second week, rumors had reached Grafton Creek. That Cole Thatcher was raising a militia. That his blind bride could shoot the wings off flies. That they'd found 3 men hanging by their heels off Old Pine Bridge. None of it was true. Not yet. But truth was coming. They rode the fence lines in 2s now. Evelyn with Dolly. Cole with Hurst. The silent one, named Crow, watched the road from the ridge. He didn't eat much. Didn't blink often. Evelyn trusted him most. One night, she found Dolly cleaning his revolver with a prayer muttered under his breath. She asked him what he believed in. He said, reckoning. She nodded. Me too. Then they came. 5 men. Faces wrapped. Guns drawn. They came at night, fast and loud, hoping to catch the ranch sleeping. But no one slept. Crow dropped the first with a shot that cracked the night in half. Evelyn hit the second in the leg. Hurst took one to the throat. Dolly died before he fired, a bullet catching him clean in the neck. He fell without sound. Cole shot the last one in the gut. Walked to where he lay writhing. Pulled down the mask. "Do I know you?" he asked. The man bled from his mouth. "We know you." Cole raised the gun again. Evelyn touched his arm. "Not like this." So they dragged him to the tree line. Left him breathing. Just. The message was sent. They buried Dolly behind the barn. Evelyn carved a rock with his name. Crow watched but didn't help. Cole said nothing for a day and a half. When he finally spoke, it was to Evelyn. "They're not done." "I know. They'll come for you next." She loaded the rifle. Let M. 3 nights later, a girl came riding. Barefoot. Face bloodied. No saddle. She collapsed in front of the barn, whispering Evelyn's name. They carried her inside. Evelyn held her hand all night. The girl wouldn't say who hurt her. Didn't need to. Cole recognized the bruises. The town had made its choice. And now the land would answer. It began with the store. Evelyn walked in at dusk, quiet as ever. Asked for flour, salt, 2 candles. The clerk, a boy with too much chin and not enough spine, laughed. "Guess even blind beggars get sugar daddies," he said. She said nothing. Paid. Walked out. An hour later, the store caught fire. Burned fast. Burned clean. No one saw who did it. No one asked. Then came the Sunday sermon. The preacher spoke of sin, of judgment, of Jezebels who steal men's hearts and curse the land. Cole stood in the doorway, rifle in hand. Didn't say a word. The next Sunday, the preacher's door was nailed shut. No sermon after that. Cole taught Evelyn to shoot standing, kneeling, prone. She hit clay pots at 80 yards. Coyotes stopped coming near the ranch. Even crows learned to fly wider. "Where'd you learn?" she asked once. He said, "War." She nodded. "Me too." Fall came cruel. Wind sharp. Leaves brittle. One morning, Evelyn woke to find a noose hanging from the front gate. She took it down. Used it to tie the coop door. The town sent a letter. No name. Just a stamp from the mayor's seal. It said the presence of Evelyn posed a moral threat. That she should leave. She folded the letter. Lit the stove with it. That night, they slept with guns in hand. Cole started coughing blood. Said it was nothing. Evelyn didn't press. Just brewed roots in silence. He drank them without complaint. Crow was the next to fall. ambushed at the ridge. Throat cut, his body left strung, like a warning. Evelyn didn't cry. She buried him with her own hands. Carved his name into a stone beside Dolly. Then she went inside. Opened Cole's old trunk. Took out the double barrel. "This ends now," she said. Cole didn't argue. They rode at dawn. Just the two of them. Into Grafton Creek. No words. Just the sound of hooves, and a silence sharp enough to bleed. They didn't stop at the saloon. They didn't knock on the mayor's door. They rode to the chapel. The one where she was left waiting. Cole stepped down. Kicked the doors open. Inside, the preacher flinched. Evelyn stepped in behind him. Face still. Voice clear. "You called me witch. Called me sin. Now I call you coward." She leveled the rifle. "Say it again." The preacher fell to his knees. "I." She fired once. Not at him. At the cross. Shattered it. Then turned. Walked out. Cole followed. No one in Grafton Creek ever spoke her name again. But everyone remembered it. The wind changed after Grafton Creek fell silent. Not the kind of change you feel in your bones, not yet, but in how the air moved, as if it circled wide around the Thatcher Ranch, unwilling to disturb what lived there now. News doesn't gallop in the West. It limps, it spreads slow like rot. But what Evelyn and Cole did in that chapel, folks heard. And those who remembered the old Cole Thatcher started remembering other things, too. They buried Crow next to Dolly beneath a bluff of hard-bent cedar. Evelyn said nothing during the burial. Just drove the shovel, packed the earth. Cole laid his hat down, eyes rimmed red. Afterward, they didn't speak for 3 days. But each night, they sat on the porch. Evelyn with her rifle across her lap, Cole with a flask. Sometimes the girl, Rosie, came too, resting her cheek on Evelyn's knee like a prayer, without words. The silence between them was no longer armor. It was fire. Waiting. One morning, a single bullet struck the barn door. Just one. Left no note. Left no prints. Just a reminder that the world hadn't forgotten. Cole examined the hole. .32, he said. "A warning." "Noted," Evelyn replied. She spent the afternoon tightening the fences, oiling the rifles, and moving Rosie's bed to the corner farthest from any window. She slept by the door that night. The attacks came quiet. Subtle. First, 2 calves poisoned. Then the well fouled with oil. Evelyn found tracks by the eastern ridge, boot prints. Not recent, but not old. They were being watched. Cole drew maps on the kitchen table. Marked old smuggler paths. Crossed off canyons too narrow to ride. "They're circling," he said. "Testing the wire." "I hope they cut it," Evelyn answered. Rosie took to the rifle easy. Didn't flinch from the kick. Didn't blink at blood. Evelyn trained her before dawn. 2 shots at 30 yards, then 50, then 70. The girl never missed. "She yours?" Cole asked one evening. Evelyn didn't answer. Just said, "She stays." That was enough. A letter came by horse. No envelope. Just a folded page, and a scrap of yellow ribbon inside. Cole read it. Folded it again. Lit it in the stove. "Who?" Evelyn asked. "Folks who think I left something unfinished." "You did." "I left them." The next raid came like wind through bone. They struck before dawn. Torches at the north pasture, fire licking high and fast. Evelyn, Rosie, Cole, they rode into it with buckets, with rifles. One man tried to run when he saw her. She shot him in the thigh. He screamed. She rode past. Cole found another hiding behind the dry well. Slit his knee with the edge of a shovel, left him crawling. They lost 6 head. Saved 10. The message was returned. Rosie asked her that night, "Why do they hate us?" Evelyn stirred the pot slowly. "Because we don't break when we should." Cole's cough worsened. Blood on his pillow. Eyes dark and sunken. He refused the doctor. Said he didn't want to owe anyone else. Evelyn didn't argue. She gathered roots. Boiled bark. Sat by him through the night. Rosie curled up on the floor, like a sentinel. They started keeping watch in shifts. Rosie at dusk. Evelyn midnight. Cole before dawn. One night Evelyn found Rosie crying by the porch steps. "I don't want to go back," she whispered. "You won't." They said they'd find me. Evelyn looked toward the hills. Let them. Another fire. This time in town. The mayor's house burned to the stone. No one claimed it, but everyone looked to the ridge and whispered. That witch again. That ghost bride. That Thatcher woman. Evelyn didn't flinch when she heard it. She just handed Rosie a shell and said, "Keep it loaded." The next letter came with no words. Just a bone. Clean. Polished. Human. Cole didn't speak for hours after. Then he said, "This ends before the freeze." "How?" Evelyn asked. "With fire." They packed salt, rope, ammunition. Rosie stayed behind, rifle ready. Evelyn and Cole rode into the canyon where the old gangs used to hide, where Cole once ruled like a ghost in dust. No one greeted them, but the smoke on the ridge said they were near, and vengeance rides best on hollow hooves. The canyon narrowed to a throat of stone. Evelyn dismounted first. Cole followed, slower. His breath caught in his chest, wet and wrong, but his eyes were steady. They walked the last mile, found the camp by its stink. Men in rags, guns on knees. Laughter turned dry. Cole raised his voice once. "I want Burke. I want Lynch. I want Kettler." A figure rose from the fire, broad-shouldered, red-eyed, scarred. "You came back to die, Thatcher?" Cole lifted his rifle. "No, I came to collect." Evelyn stepped beside him, and to bury the rest. The shootout lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, the canyon smoked. 3 dead by Evelyn's hand, 1 by Cole, 1 by his knife. Burke begged. She shot him through the throat. Lynch ran. Cole poured round in his spine. Kettler was already dead, poisoned by his own greed a week before. They burned the camp, watched it crumble. Cole leaned on her as they walked out, his weight heavier than ever. By dawn, they were home. Rosie was waiting, rifle in lap, stew on the fire. She didn't ask what happened. She just hugged Evelyn like the wind had returned. Cole sat by the fire, coughed blood, said, "We held." Evelyn nodded. "We did." And when the first snow fell, it did not erase their footprints. It crowned them. The first snow didn't come gentle. It came like a warning, wet, heavy, dragging branches low and muting the earth beneath a cold hush. Evelyn stood by the window with her hand on the pane, blind eyes turned outward. She didn't need to see it to know the land had changed. Cole's breathing was ragged behind her. 3 days since the canyon. 2 since he stopped eating. 1 since he stopped standing. He was dying slow, but not quiet. Rosie fed the cattle by hand now, walked the fence with her coat cinched tight and the rifle over her shoulder. She didn't speak much, not unless Evelyn asked. But when she did, her voice carried steel beneath it. "They watching?" Evelyn asked one morning. Rosie nodded. "Saw smoke on the ridge." Evelyn poured water into the wash basin. "Let 'em watch." Inside, the fire crackled low. Cole lay in the bed upstairs, eyes open but unfocused. Evelyn sat beside him, wiping his brow, counting the seconds between each breath. "You want the doctor?" she asked. He shook his head. "Just you." She didn't cry. "Not yet. I had dreams once," he said. "Before the war. Before the brand. You kept the land." He coughed blood into a rag. "And what does it know of dreams?" Evelyn held his hand, said nothing. At night, she sat by the stove with Rosie. They didn't talk about what waited upstairs. Instead, Evelyn told her about salt, the way it preserves meat, how it pulls water from rot. "Everything that keeps has a price," she said. Rosie nodded like she already knew. On the 6th day, Cole asked for whiskey. Evelyn brought the last of it, held the cup to his lips. "It hurts less when you're here," he whispered. "I don't plan on leaving. Even after." "I'll stay," she said. "For the girl. For the land. For yourself." She hesitated, then nodded. Snow buried the porch steps. The road vanished beneath it. Evelyn strung wire between fence posts and tied rags to guide Rosie through the white. They set traps in the woods, hauled firewood until their arms throbbed, cooked meat with roots and old lard. Survival became ritual. Ritual became rhythm. Cole died on the 7th morning, just after dawn. No sound, just a breath that didn't come back. Evelyn held him for an hour. Then she rose, carried water, dug the grave. Rosie tried to help, but Evelyn waved her off. He was mine to carry. They buried him under the cottonwood, where the ground was hardest. Evelyn carved a stone by hand. No name, just a mark, a flame split by silence. When it was done, she stood there until dusk. Rosie brought stew. Evelyn didn't eat. The next morning, the tracks came. Boot prints by the south pasture. A sigil carved into the barn door. A message scratched in ash on the porch, "Not over." Rosie touched the words. Evelyn loaded the rifle. "No," she said. "It's not." They rode out together. Evelyn on Cole's gelding. Rosie on the mule. Snow deep. Wind sharp. They didn't speak. At the ridge, Evelyn found a circle of stones. A fire long dead. Scattered ash. One spent cartridge. She knelt. Touched it. They're testing us. They'll lose, Rosie said. They fortified the ranch. Barred the windows. Dug pits near the gate. Nailed charms above the doors. Evelyn taught Rosie how to shoot from a saddle. How to pack powder. How to gut a man if the shot didn't drop him. I hope you never have to, Evelyn said. I hope I do, Rosie answered. One night, a rider came. Tall. Coat like pitch. Eyes hidden. He didn't knock. Just stood at the edge of the yard. Come to talk. Evelyn asked from the porch. No. Came to warn. About. Sheriff's on his way. And he ain't coming alone. Why warn us? He paused. Because you buried Cole Thatcher. That counts for something. He rode off. Left no name. Evelyn turned to Rosie. Get the fire started. They came at sunrise. 6 men. Badges crooked. Guns clean. Evelyn met them in the yard. We're here for the girl, the sheriff said. She's wanted for thieving. And you for aiding. She's not going, Evelyn said. You don't get a vote. Then you'll need a preacher too. They laughed. She fired. The first man dropped. The rest scattered. Rosie took one through the neck from aloft. The others ran. By noon, the yard was clean again. Evelyn sat on the porch steps, snow red at her boots. Think they'll be back? Rosie asked. Yes. You scared? Evelyn shook her head. Not anymore. Rosie leaned against her. Me neither. That night, the wind howled, but the house held. And the land remembered. The thaw came slow. The snow that had once covered blood and hoof prints now receded in patches, revealing ground made hard by more than frost. Evelyn stood at the porch's edge, blind eyes fixed on nothing and everything. The cold had changed. Its bite softened, but the stillness remained. Behind her, the house groaned in the morning wind. Rosie chopped wood near the shed, sleeves rolled, cheeks pink with effort. No longer a girl. Not quite a woman. Something sharper. Something forged. No letters came. No riders. Not in weeks. The land had learned. The town had quieted. Whatever noise the world once made for them had dulled to a hum. And still, Evelyn kept the rifle close. One morning, Rosie found her by the orchard, standing barefoot in mud. Her palms were open, fingers twitching, as if feeling the earth breathe. Storm's past, Rosie said. No, Evelyn replied. Storm's asleep. They planted new rows that spring. Beans. Squash. Tomatoes that might not take. Rosie did most of the digging. Evelyn marked rows with string and carved stakes with her knife. They worked in silence, but not out of distance. They moved like breath, 2 halves of one rhythm. The land bore witness. Come dusk, they sat on the porch again. No threats. No plans. Just the hum of bees, the drip of thawed water, and the scent of smoke curling from a stove inside. One evening, Rosie asked, why didn't they come back? Evelyn didn't answer at first. Just leaned forward, spit into the dirt. They already lost, she said. All they could take from me died in that canyon. Rest is just noise. There were still ghosts, though. Evelyn felt them. In the orchard where Cole lay buried. In the blood that never fully washed from the porch. In her dreams. She saw him sometimes, Cole. Sitting beside her, hat low. Eyes bright with fever and memory. Still holding it down, he'd ask. She'd nod. Wake with the sheets clutched tight. A preacher came through in June. Young. Clean hands. Saddle sore. Said he was looking to plant a new chapel in the hills. Evelyn met him on the road. You bring forgiveness. He blinked. I bring prayer. We don't need either. She turned her horse. Rode back home. Rosie found a colt one morning. Half-starved. Leg caught in wire. They freed it, nursed it. Named it Ash. It followed Rosie everywhere. Slept by her window. Learned her voice. Evelyn watched the bond grow. Said nothing. But she smiled once. Rosie saw it. Didn't mention it. The summer came hot and long. Flies thick. Dust cruel. But the crops held. So did they. A girl from town came to trade eggs one morning. Saw Rosie at the fence with her rifle. Saw Evelyn sharpening blades in the shade. She said, folks still talk about you. Do they whisper or warn? Evelyn asked. The girl shrugged. Both. Good. One night, Thunder rolled in without lightning. Rosie couldn't sleep. Sat by Evelyn's bed, knees drawn to her chest. "Do you think it's ever over?" she asked. Evelyn didn't open her eyes. Just said, "Peace is earned, but never given. So we keep watch, until no one remembers what they were watching for." Autumn came in red. The orchard bloomed gold. The creek dropped low. Coyotes kept their distance. Word from town said the sheriff retired. Said the new one don't ask questions. Suits Evelyn fine. She buried the rifle one morning, deep beneath a rock by the bluff. Rosie watched. Said nothing. Then winter again. Colder than the last. But not meaner. Rosie turned 17. Knew the land better than her own name. Evelyn gave her a knife, same one she used to carve Cole's marker. "You earned this," she said. Rosie took it like a promise. That spring, Rosie came in late. Dirt on her hands. Blood on her boots. "Coyote," she said, "tried to take a lamb." "Did it?" "No." Evelyn nodded. "You buried it." Rosie shook her head. "Hung it from the cedar." Evelyn almost smiled. They visited the orchard every Sunday. 2 graves now. 2 stones. 1 name, 1 symbol. Both remembered. Evelyn never prayed. Rosie once tried, then stopped. They brought water instead. Cleaned the markers. Left salt and ash. By the time Rosie was 18, no one in town dared say her name loud. They called her the Ash Colt. They called Evelyn the Widow Witch. Sometimes they said the ranch was cursed, that the land itself was watching. They weren't wrong. Evelyn aged quiet. Spine bent but eyes sharp. Hands scarred but steady. Rosie took the reins, ran the brand, rode the fences. Still, Evelyn watched the road every dusk. Just in case. Just to remember. When Evelyn died, it was the orchard that caught her. Rosie found her leaning against the cottonwood, knife in one hand, palm to the dirt. She didn't look afraid. Just tired. Just done. They buried her by Cole. No preacher. No crowd. Just Rosie. And ash. She carved the stone herself. No name. Just a mark, a blind eye over a burning ridge. And the land held its breath. And the quiet that remained belonged to no man. Only to her. To them. To fire, blood, and silence. Forever.